To be informed is to be empowered, and to be empowered gives you the power to be engaged in different spheres and facets of life. Welcome to another episode of Speak Up Afrika. My name is Wendy Lois, and today we want to dive into what is the future of tech for people in diaspora and back home. What does that mean for us and for young people especially? And to help me unpack this conversation is a man with a pretty interesting story behind his name, Mark Ouma. Welcome to Speak Up Afrika.
Thank you so much.
Such a unique name, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Karibu nyumbani.
Asante sana.
How does it feel being back home?
It makes me want to connect. So sometimes I walk along the street that I used to. Mm-hmm. It makes me feel good. And I meet people. There's a lot of social life here, mm-hmm. which we missed where we are. And so I love it. I love it being around. Kidogo homa imenishika, but I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. Before this trip that you made, how long have you been away?
So 2023, I came here twice. Then 24, I was here. Mm-hmm. I didn't come in 2025. And then, so I came this year. Yeah. But before COVID, I took time before I came back. Yeah.
Are you seeing any changes with our political climate and how young people are right now, and just generally how this country is? Are you having a different feel when you touch ground?
Yeah, I see Nico Kadi. Yes, I see young Gen Z. So I saw what they did during the protests, and I think young people of this nation is taking seriously what is right for them. Mm-hmm. What I would just encourage them, take Kadi, mm-hmm. and then make a right decision. I don't know who I don't want to say who to vote for, because it's a choice, personal choice. Mm-hmm. A lot of things need to be done. I don't despite the fact that things are going on, a lot of development are on, but I still feel that a lot need to be done. Sometimes change is good, but I don't mean that you have to change the person. Maybe probably mean change the office. So I just leave that to Kenyans to make a decision. I will definitely come and vote. I will make a decision. Choose the person I feel is right for me, from ward level to presidency. So I just want to encourage you, take part. Don't just sit back. Life is expensive actually here. Yeah. So, I remember 2024 when I came here. Mm-hmm. So, I don't drive as much. So I have someone, tracking me around sometimes. And I remember I got to a point that I had to, spend money. And I was like, okay, let me have that Wilson Airport. Mm-hmm. I just want to know what the value of 1,000 is. So I took 2 samosas, 2 sausages and tea, and that was 850. I was like, okay, this is it. So it's fairly expensive, especially considering how much people make, in this country. It's a bit expensive, but that's life. That's life. We have to keep on pushing.
Yeah, and we are hoping that come the next general election, we shall see a difference with the government that will come in. Let's take the conversation, the takeaway, because that's where you heavily operate. That's your space of operation. Yeah. What inspired you from the space of education to tech and now even entrepreneurship?
What inspired me? I think I woke up one night and I was just inspired. No, just kidding. So, my background, none in my generation, especially on my dad's side, ever went past primary school. So, grew up in the village. I'll call it Triple K, Kapwese, Kakithimu, Karachuonyo, which is in Homa Bay County. I lived there as a young man. I think at some point we were lucky to have shoes, but most of the time there were no shoes. Just like many people during those time, people didn't have good clothes, good shoes. So I lived in the village, went to local school. My dad used to work in Nairobi, sometimes Kisumu. My mom used to own a grocery store, kibanda kidogo ya kusampa pale. So most of the time we were with my mom. But I remember at some point I went to live with my dad in Kisumu when he was working in Kisumu. He was a casual laborer, so there's nothing fancy about that. He fell sick, came back. He died in 1995. I was, I think, 11 years old. And then a year later, my mom died, And so we were 4. I was the second born. I had an elder brother and 2 younger sisters. So by the time my dad died, my brother was taken by, lived with my relatives. So I was like kind of the man in charge. My mom fell sick. She became sick for many months, right? So the following year she died. And so was my sister. So it got to a point like, my dad didn't have a brother. He had two sisters who were like married. So like we were just literally us and our grandma from my dad's side. And so we had some people from church helping my mom. But at some time my mom was getting worse. She's already getting some smell out of her. And, these ladies, I remember that day, they didn't come to our place. They stopped coming to spend the night with us. So it was us, my sister and I, and my mom. So it was that time, I would come from school every moment and I hear people crying. I was like, that time, it's my mom.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen until one morning when I woke up about 5 a.m. and had doing the last breath. Somehow I knew it was time. She's gone. But I didn't want to confirm. So I woke up, made some tea for my sisters, woke them up, put on some uniform. Until it was about 7, I knew that, the whole village was awake. Just went there, just to confirm, she was gone. And
At this point, your sisters had no idea.
They didn't know, but, I had to confirm. Came back, told them, and then we started crying. The village came. It was a tough moment, right? It was a tough moment. But, I had done a lot. I was that gentleman trying to take care of my mom, doing everything that possible. Sometimes to run the business that she was running. Yeah, but she went, and so my sisters were again taken by our relatives, so I was the only one left. So with my mom, my grandma from my dad's side, in the village. I did run my mom's business. I did go to school, dropped out of school. I did all kind of things that I could do. Selling sugar cane, firewood. I would, we had some trees, splitting them and selling them. So just to take care of my grandma. So I never went to school. And then at some point, I went to do fishing. So went to the Lake Victoria somewhere with my friends. So, yeah, that was me and at school. It was done. Until, so my mom doesn't come far away from where my home is. So somehow, I met my grandma from my mom's side and I, had some dry fish in my hands. She asked me what I'm doing and all that. I said, I just came from my principal's school. I mean, principal's home, how I head teacher then, but she wasn't convinced. And then, go involve my uncle from my mom's side. And then I was able to go back to school the following year in class 7. So then, I didn't do much of class 6. So I lived there. I went to class 7, Rongo. Then part of last term of class 7 in Oyugis. I wasn't performing well. So I was brought back to my grandma. So then I lived with my grandma from my mom's side now. And of course, I was able to go to school there. And then at that point, I was smart. I was not that bad. Even every time my mom was there, one of the top students. But I think that break also affected me and everything.
Yeah.
And then I realized that for me to get out of this thing, this situation, I had to go to school. I made a decision to go back to school. To go to school and work hard. I really worked so hard. Did whatever I could do, passed well, was always the top student. Went to high school. I wasn't able to go to school where I was, I had the offer because of fee. So I stayed home until it was late, and then we had no solution. And then we decided to go to a local school. So I went there, did my Form 1, Form 2. Then, later I got a chance to go to Kisumu, Jolomino. I did my high school there.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a heavy, interesting part of your life that I'm sure has shaped quite a bit of your influence right now. Having moved abroad, and even coming back home and being passionate about helping young people bridge the gap. Technology is evolving and evolving very fast. And I believe African democracies, we're still playing catch up to this space.
Yeah.
And having experienced both sides of this, how can young people in Africa and in Kenya especially position themselves better for opportunities in the tech space?
So I had not seen a computer in my life. I didn't even know how to type anything until I got to college. So I stayed out of school for 3 years, and when I went back to school, I did my my first college at Technical University of Kenya. I did computer science. It was by an accident because I wanted to become this engineer, the big name. So there was Engineer Kundi. I wanted to be like Engineer Kundi, like because of the name.
Yeah.
So I wanted, did all the physics, all those stuff to prove that then I wanted to be an engineer. So then I was going to school. I was told that my program was not starting until the following year. I had stayed out for almost 3 years and said, okay, what is close to engineering? And then someone told me there's something called computer science. It's so close. It's the same department, so I think you can do it. I started typing, yeah. And then I did my diploma there. Went back to do my degree at Mount Kenya University. I did my master's also at Mount Kenya University. And I did my PhD at Kisii University, specializing in cloud computing. So then I was a teacher. I had been always been a teacher, teaching primary, teaching high school, college, and the university. So I've been teaching a lot, but not as a trained teacher. So then that my interest now in computer started from that moment when I actually got into that class. I've been doing that for forever. Since 2006, I've been talking about computer. And so then I have been training people. I had a training, a company here in Kenya before I moved to US. And then so in US, I do a lot of stuff of tech. I talk about tech like every day in an organization. So I have, our local, community group in Washington, D.C. I talk about tech. I teach tech. I have a, training, which I'll talk about, as we go along. But I talk about tech. So what I want to say is that right now, as young as 5-year-old, I think they're born at the right time in terms of technology, and everyone can access it. By that time, there were no much of internet. You'd go to the cyber cafe to be able to get something done, right? So right now, we have smartphones.
I remember.
We have smartphones. So we have, I have 2 kids who have access to phones. They can be able to do something. And it's very funny because I'll tell you a story of my son. At one point, he wrote. He was asked to write to come and tell us that when he needs to that we make him write an apology to school. He got in. He wrote an apology using ChatGPT, sent to the teacher through his mom's email address. We were not aware. All these things were done and we were not aware.
How old is he again?
He's 10 years old.
Wow.
But he's been exposed to computer since he was 5.
Yeah.
And so how we were able to know this was done was that we got an email. Because the teacher would not tell, he would tell this English is not for him. It's kind of AI generated, letter that he sent. And I'd say they're exposed. And one of the things that we can't stop them from getting exposed. What is like? How do they manage to what extent are they exposed and what they're doing online? And not just kids, like everyone. So it's good. It's good for us. That's good news for everyone in Africa and in Kenya as well, right? Where my home, when I travel there, I was able to access the internet. So anyone, even those who live those areas, as long as they can, be exposed to tech, they can do wonderful things. What's happening in the US can be done right here, because they can be able to access this technology. So maybe content creation, maybe AI, building AI, models and all that. It can be done. It just needs people to put together the roadmap, the structures that can support that. And I think this is what government needs to do. And I have had this conversation with some people in the ministry of ICT, see how much you can do. But I also say I don't think they're doing a lot. But we here as people live in diaspora and talk about tech to support them as much as possible. Yeah, and that brings us even to the conference that I'll talk about as we go on with this.
Yeah. So it's interesting you mentioned AI. I nowadays say AI is the new you and I. There's still a bit of gray areas with AI. Yeah. I think AI has been there for a while now. It's just that now it's heavily being deployed and now we even have more use of the term AI. And it came and it shook people, by the way. I think a better part of last year, it was almost like, AI is here to replace you. AI is here to, if you don't shape up, you ship out.
Yeah.
How can we better stay ready with AI, from where you see it, how do we marry it nicely into our lives and our careers so that we are not replaced? Because I know that's still a great fear for many career people in our country.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So my first time, to hear the word AI, that was a fascinating, it was interesting thing to hear. Was when I was at Kenya Polytechnic at that time, and I was like, okay, so we want to make computers to think like us. It was nice, but that was lost so fast because after that, it wasn't anywhere until I think like 4 or 5 years ago when people started about AI. I think ChatGPT, and DeepSeek and many other the models really help in people knowing what AI is and how the power of AI. And this is a conversation, like you're saying, people talk about AI taking over jobs. For me, I will not say taking over your jobs. AI is used to support you. So restructuring will be happening. So if you used to come to the office every day, probably you can do work from home
Yeah.
without really coming to the office every day. If we are 10 in a company or in a department, and with the AI, we can be able to do the same job faster, easier, quicker, and accurately by only having 5 people in the organization. Then the other 5 will have to find a way. The question now, I'll ask everyone is that if that happens, are you going to be among the 5 people who are going
Will
to be
be
retained or 5
retained
people?
or yeah.
Yeah, so the best you can do is just, be part of AI, learn about it, and do some courses. There are free courses online. There are also boot camps that teach people. Like one of the things I do is Sevenet, which is a training company in US, of course, even training people here. And we train on AI, data analytics and data science, a 5-month program. It helps a lot so you can understand how AI works, what it is, the models that, that drive that, and how you can be able to build them. And you don't have to be, well educated. I know people who have done good jobs without really getting education as such, right? From people well known, Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, for example, they didn't have to get a degree. They dropped out of school because they had something going on. And even me, was right at the time, I would just get my bachelor degree, focus on building that skill. And that's what I think will drive us as Kenyans and as African. So don't sit there and start complaining. Stop whining. Do something. Go to get more skills, reskill, upskill.
Yeah.
Do something. There are free courses. I think that will be safe. You will be safe. If you just say like I will come out of a job, but then you're not doing anything about it, definitely I would say you're going to be affected. You're going to go home. You're going to be, absolute, like there will be nothing to do. So then what you need to do is be part of AI. Do something about it every day. I talk about this. And like I said, my dissertation was on cloud computing. I wasn't like into AI. But when AI started like 2 years, 3 years ago, I say, okay, let me do this. I'm at the set of AI. Talk about it every day.
Yeah. Sorry for the homer.
Yeah.
Let's take a minute and circle through the skills that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And now plug us in. You have your company that you do training back in Washington and here. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So in 2014, when I was here, I was just finishing my master's at the time, and then I wondering now, what will I do if I don't get a job, right? Because I wanted to be this professional guy, but I was looking at the job market and I'm like, okay, it might be tough to get a job. I asked myself then, I decided, to start register a company, start one. So 7-8 Limited was started at that time. And so we were offering training in mostly tech training, how to can be able to carry out research, how can analyze data and probably, get insights. So that's what we're doing here. When I got to US, I started the same company under the 7-8, which is 7 in US. So then that's 7-8 LLC. At the time I was in Seattle, Washington State, so that's where I lived at that time. And so we started training. So intention was because there were so many Kenyans who were in the US and the tech space was tough for them. And so they wanted to give them the basic skill to be able to know how to even operate computers, how to send an email, how to do exams, because there were some of them were mostly in healthcare. And those exams were taken, using technology like computers and all that.
Yeah.
So I met this guy who was training in healthcare. He was a Filipino guy, and we agreed that we need to collaborate and form a company together because already his company was running, right? And unfortunately, he wasn't feeling well, so he passed on. That so we were not able to have this. It took me time, and the COVID was coming, and that sort of So finally, I registered a company on my own. I started training people. So we've been training people. Initially, it was only people who were based in the US, but again, they also need to have people already here to join us. So now right now training is done. Currently, there's a class going on, ending end of April, and then another class starts. So it's a 5-month program. Our focus is on data analytics, data science. So in data analytics, we talk about more of tools that you can use for visualization or business intelligence. And some of them we do talk about Power BI, Tableau, SQL, SQL. And those are tools that I use, are common tools that I use. We're using Python, R, and other programming languages to build the models to learn how it works. So it's a combined, so learning a bit of data analytics, and then moving to AI, so that people can be able to understand, how to build, how to deploy, just the basic building block for the AI.
I know gender equation has been quite a conversation. My podcast sometimes really gets into text conversations, and most people come and say even at uni level we have more men than we do have women. What has your experience been when you've been doing this training? Do we have more women showing up in this male dominated space?
Surprisingly, even in class, I think that about there are many more males or females, sorry, women or females, female in the training more than the men. So
Is it?
yes, it is. That is what the current class has, but even the previous classes. So I think, I don't know. Probably the men, they don't want to spend. I don't know. I may be wrong on that, right? But it's been different. But I think the space is for everyone. We just want to encourage women and men, female and male, to be part of this.
Yeah.
And everyone should be able to, because when it comes to probably using a technology, you want to get advantage because probably you are a man or you are a woman. So yeah, and that's what I want to encourage. I mean, there are just those challenges. I mean, men have had privileges. Just to be fair on ladies, yeah. men have had privileges, but we want to encourage everyone. So in 7 it as well, for example, we're doing coding classes for younger ones. So we have a class, grade 5, what's called, somebody who's 6 years old at 17 years old. They're learning how to do programming, how to code, using from block-based to writing of the codes, building applications. Like now, my son can be able to develop some applications. Mobile application right now. He's doing that. So that's those classes we do every Saturday, Kenyan time and of course US time. Just to help them, because like I told you, look how where I grew up, and probably you are, or other guys as well. But right now, no one should be left behind. So it's hard from even the young one. Before we talk about even like how many male will be the industry and how many female will be the industry, let's involve this younger one as early as 6 years. They're part of that. So then they make it regarding the decision whether they want to be part of mainstream or just want to tech to enhance what they're doing.
Yeah. This gets to a place where you now sort of reflect, and you mentioned it partially. You've been able to do up till the doctorate level of academic achievement.
Yeah.
Looking back, same factors play out. Would you go back and study as hard and as far to doctorate, or you would rather go to skills acquisition and just focus on that? Is it worth it going to school to do up till doctorate level now?
I think this can be controversial, but I will focus on the skill more. But again, there's some things that you want just to achieve. So for me, getting a PhD, you're not getting a PhD because you're looking for a job or you're building a career. You want to do research. You want to be part of policy making. That would be. But if you think of being a career, getting a PhD is not building a career for me. It's you need a minimum degree. I mean, that's where the world is right now. But I know that that people could be like, you're just in class 8, but you're just this extraordinary guy who could do something so serious. So building skill is a priority to me. I would do that over than academic. But also, so I'm traveling tomorrow. I'm going to Rwanda. I'm the keynote speaker in a conference in Rwanda. But I think that also because of my academic background, that's what I'm doing. So also, I'm not just saying that, having academic cannot, it's not important. It's not important because sometimes it will open the doors. Probably that if you didn't have those kind of, credentials, you may not be able to have. But I know you can expose yourself to an extent that it's not about academic. it's about what you're doing and what you're able to do.
Yeah, because I can imagine if you're bringing up your kids and at his age he's already able to develop softwares that can be used on mobiles. Where do we draw the balance with now kids who come up and say, I don't think school is for me? You know, your kid would easily say, I don't know why I would go to what now we have currently in Kenya, CBC and all that, and pump in a lot of hours and go to uni.
Yeah.
And last, I will still come out and do what exactly it is. How do we draw the balance then for the kids?
So, recently I was told it was called, so when I went to my school, I went to school. And also it's called CBE, not CBC. I think they changed the name. So, one of the reasons why I'm here, is to talk about a conference. So 2004 we did a conference. So, I started, bring people together, having webinars, talk about tech, sharing our experience and knowledge and skills. And then we said it's time to organize something. So we did a conference here at USIU 2024. When I came here, so I think 2 weeks ago, I had a meeting with professors from KC University's Vice Chancellor from USIU and Tomboya. Both of them, all of them are coming to US for the conference. One of the things that we're going to achieve is to talk about STEM education. So we did one here, started a conversation. Then we want to talk about how then do we embed STEM education into the system.
Yeah.
And it calls a lot, call for everyone, the government and the tech players, all the players and that. So for me, I think there should be a special school where STEM is purely, the main focus. This could be after school probably, or let it be part of the school. There should be a program focused on STEM. It should be optional for anyone who wants to pursue. So those who want to do other things, they can continue doing other things. But there should be a time where dedicated for anyone who wants to focus on STEM education. It's key, it's very important. That will help a lot to avoid the issue of everyone graduating. I think during my time, you meet someone and ask him, so what they meant is that one is high school. Right now, I think everyone, maybe 5 out of 7 people have degrees in the street in Nairobi. And so what happens to them? Who is going to absorb them? Okay? So they should be aware of how to create jobs themselves without really depending for government or private sectors to absorb them. So, yes, I would say go to school if you have to, which is also important, right? But also if you can focus on STEM, I think that will give you a lot of leverage into this tech space and life than just, going to school, studying almost everything from agriculture to social education, I don't know what's called, and many other things. And then you wonder, where will you use all this things?
Yeah.
So for me, I think there should be a point that now people start now specializing and get to a point that if somebody is so much interested in STEM, then it should be STEM. Even before they get to high school. What's called the Form 4 KCSE, right? Before that. So they know I'm interested in STEM. And this would be engineering. This would be, computer science. This would be software engineering. This would be, social science, whatever. As long as STEM. So that is a thing that should be done. And I think this is a conversation that we're going to start. The conference is called Kenya USA Tech Forum, happening in USA on June 24th, 25th at Marymount University, Washington, D.C., and we're inviting everyone to come. We want to start out conversation. I think soon we may roll out a STEM program or institute in either those universities, USIU or Tomboya University, probably KC University, to start, helping people get focused on the STEM.
Yeah. I think there was a mention when we were talking with Brian, and even the reason why we're like, we really need to pick this conversation. I don't know if you've already started it. There's a program to help young people, even from Kenya, come abroad and get more training on tech.
So this was drawn out of my personal experience, lived experience. So when I was coming to US, I struggle a lot to get the right information. I would spend a lot of time, watching YouTube and doing research, hoping that whatever I was getting was right information. But I was able to go through it. Went to the embassy, got a visa at US. And I've met so many people. We've had these good discussions with them, and we talk about them. And the challenges are the same. Whether you're coming from another country, as long as you're moving to a new country, the challenges are the same. So then I thought about this. How about putting these resources together? So my first version of Navi Smart AI was having all this kind of information under the same roof. And we launched that up 2024 June. We tested it out, got feedback from everyone. But there was also need to use AI so that people don't have to go through those websites. It takes a lot of time. So any noise could be sieved out and we get the right information coming in. So then we built Navismart AI. That was Navismart. Then we built Navismart AI since last year, March. So Navismart AI is an AI-powered platform that simplifies and streamlines immigration process for people who want to try life outside their country. This would mean from getting the right information, not on TikTok, not on social media, right information from verifiable sources, to filling out the forms or filling the forms so that you can avoid errors and delays, to helping in interview questions preparation. And this we do it with the help of human expertise. So we have a team that helps you do that, having a conversation, preparing you for the interview. But again, you could still do this without human intervention. So that's what Navisman is. So we supported, especially our focus is F1 student, those who are traveling to come to America to study. We've had like 6 people last year since we launched, and they were able to come to America through all this because you could have a cultural profile. So I'm a student going to study in Texas, for example. That would be probably a different of someone who's going to Minnesota, for example, for something else. So it can be able to tailor your information, the information that's providing to you based on your profile. So that's what Navismart does. We providing right information for people to travel and probably get opportunities which otherwise would be difficult. They would be delayed. There would be errors. They will be rejected, not because they don't qualify, but probably they don't know right documents to put together. Somebody gave them misinformation. They're not well prepared in terms of questions for the interviews.
All right. So there was a need. You brought in an intervention. What is your vision with Navismart and even the conferences that you're doing? If you give it a 360 holistic view, what is your vision?
My vision is to use tech to simplify the most or the otherwise complex processes. For example, from getting right information, immigration, which is very complex, to helping people start a life, probably enhance what they already have. Use tech to complement what they're already doing. If you're a marketer, for example, use tech to be more competitive. Or start a new career altogether, right? A good example is a lady who came from Kenya with his family, and then she trained with us. Now she's the branch account manager at Amazon. I remember she was telling me that she came up with the idea how to help companies save money at her office in Seattle. She was awarded 2 weeks ago. She was awarded for bringing that because she was able to bring the skill that she learned with us, Power BI, to save them company money. And so those are good stories that we want. So my vision is to help people use tech to complete what they're doing, solve the problem, earn a living, live a comfortable life, solve a problem. And finally, is to give back to the community. I believe in giving back to the community. I would want to one day, come back here, build something that kids and young people and old people would just go learn tech, just learn tech. So that's what conference is about. That's what Navismart is about. That's what Saving It is about. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure even as you continue building, changamoto zipo.
Yes, mingi.
Right? Changamoto zipo.
Yeah.
And this is also in our day-to-day living. What's the importance of resilience when starting up? Because part of tech navigation is independence. Everyone wants to go the entrepreneurial way, to be not employed. Let me tell you, Makoma, right now, we have a generation that is empowered for sure, but people don't want to be employed. They don't want that element of 8 to 5, having a boss who is on your neck. So the other end of that spectrum is entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that journey is not easy. So you can talk into the power of resilience in it and just navigating this space, especially in tech.
So I have a book about myself. So when I did a conference here in USIU, I was overwhelmed with what I was able to put together. And not just me, asking people to join your vision, be part of your vision.
Yeah.
Traveling. I have friends, even American, who came with me to the USIU. And I felt it was time to. I had written a book before, but I wasn't able to publish it. I said it was time, so I published a book. It's called Resilience Beyond Throws, available in Nairobi and in Amazon. Talks about the power of being of resilience, and that's exactly what I want to say, people. Entrepreneurship journey is not simple. It's tough. Really, sometimes be lonely. It's very lonely. It's hard for a lot. So it was not easy. So if somebody wants to leave a job, being employed and to start being a journey of entrepreneurship, it's going to be very easy. But it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Yeah, I woke up sometimes at night, do something. I can work, like, when I was here, I was at the airport, I was able to have meetings. When I was going and I come back, to Mombasa, I would still do meetings. So I, just need to use my phone and then everything's running, and that's what makes it, it's so rewarding. You don't have to be in a physical place. You don't have to be controlled. But it's tough. So then be prepared. I mentor some young people, and I'm ready to mentor anyone about the journey of entrepreneurship. And we're here. They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm G.O. Ouma, Facebook G.O. Ouma, Mark Ouma. You can find me there. Send me an email. Let's connect, and I can be able to provide more information, especially how then you walk in the journey, especially for young people. Yeah.
Top 3 from your experience that has held you down. When you talk about resilience, it can look like a very ginormous word. But what are 3 practical things that keep you going? G.O. Makoma.
1, God.
Ni God, manze.
Yeah, because I have broken so many barriers. We were lost. Like, there was no chance someone would come out of that situation from the death of parents. None of my friends in primary school, I don't remember. Maybe one. High school, I remember one person whom I still connect with. I don't know where the rest are. And so that's what Mungu ni mzuri. He's been kind to me. He's given me a good family. Appreciate. So your kwanza ni Mungu. Ya pili, don't ever give up. No, I'll tell you, if you start a journey with you, if I feel that you're giving up, I'm not going to listen to you. I'll keep going. Yeah, mimi nasukuma. Nasukuma. Kabisa. Hiyo siogopi, nasukuma. And then I think there also favors that, like, God, sometimes I knock doors and then, like, okay, how did you manage to get there? So God, being that guy who doesn't give up. And then I want to make everyone proud, everyone around me to be proud. My parents, my late brother, my late sister, and everyone who, my grandma who went before me. I want to make them proud. I want to make my kids proud. I want to make my wife proud. I want to make my countrymen, Kenya, proud. That is gentleman who is, creating good names for everyone. Finally, I want to give back to the community. That's what I want. My journey will end when, create so much impact. Like, people I look up to, Tom Boyer did a good job. I never met him, but, he was able to create an impact that gave us President Barack Obama. And so those are things I want. I want 20 years, 30 years, many, many years after I'm gone, people will tell us that the gentleman inspired the generation.
Yeah. And that is what will make the difference. Yeah. Partially, when we are getting into this space, it will require a lot of tenacity and mind shift.
Yeah.
In our country, and I'm looking at a very decent, easy way to put it together. I don't know if sometimes it's a deliberate action by the government. If we can just go back to that place. If you look at our education system and what people are being taught, it is so far detached to the realities of the skill sets and information that we need right now. And we've had this debate. I mean, how well is our education system preparing us for the kind of world that we will go to live in,
Yeah.
Such that even when someone who's really gone to school, you sit with them and have a conversation and they're not informed, hawana content,
Yeah.
How important is the mindset shift when you're walking into this space so that you're looking at it as because I think one thing I've picked from what you've said is even as you go knocking on doors and the element of you not giving up, it's a mindset thing. You've just told yourself, no, we will do this a different way. And you'll get most of the times you see opportunities even from things that ideally someone would have seen them as problems, the place of mindset shift in the journey of entrepreneurship?
I was in Kenya when they talk about giving every child a laptop, small laptop. Yeah. I don't want to be political. I was in politics at some point. I don't like politics anymore. I wish everyone was politics a good life. But I think we need to have leaders who are accountable for everything. There's so many projects I see around. I'm not sure, they're adding the value. But I think I don't want to say that what the Ministry of Education is doing is bad. But I think they need to reinforce some things. Like, for example, STEM education, focusing on that, adding it to the already existing system. Probably, somebody wants to compare US and here because US things systems are working. It took them many years to get there. I think it will take us time to get there. But I think also we need to make use of expertise. Those who are not in the government to provide those much needed advice, mentorship, something that I think need to be done. And every child should just have this mindset. No matter where you're coming from, no matter where you are at this point, you have a chance. You have a chance to be who you are. Any opportunity you see around, whether we're listening to this podcast, for example, whether to watching TV, whether to just using ChatGPT or whether to using AI, that can take you from where you are to somewhere you never believed. People have made great impact at people who are not known. People who just, work hard with the policies and, change mindset and all that. So I think it's possible for everyone. The government and all the stakeholders need to come together. But I also hope that we'll get right people who will prioritize how to bring everyone together to push this agenda of having kids, not just focus on education, but also building skills. Yeah.
I think as we wind up the conversation, I would want you to just plug us again. Someone probably is wondering, where do I start the journey with you? There's the element of reaching out to you on social media, which we'll do as you'll give us your parting shots. But how do we plug into the programs that are there in your company?
Yeah. Starting point. And it doesn't have to be my company. I remember, I used to work to Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Education. Not much known. I had my passport way. Went to got my passport, hoping that, So I remember walking to this ministry, Jogo House. They had this scholarship going to Algeria. I would go there, do interview, push, almost qualified, told, maneno imetoka juu, peanwa. Never gave up. A lot of things. So never give up. So you don't have to be in a advantageous position to succeed. Just keep on going. There are many free online courses. MIT, Stanford, for example, and Harvard. They have such programs. Look at the ones that feel you can do that. Those online. There are many, even Amazon, all those guys, Microsoft, Google. They offer those free online. But sometimes we just need to have someone interacting with them and someone like a mentor teaching them. So to get to our training Navismart, 7net is www.7net.net, and then 7 at the 7ETT.net. Then you can get all the information you need. For Navismart AI, it's www.navismart, that is NAVISMARTI, Navismart, AI.com. You're going to find us there. For those who want to be part of this conference and the future conference, it's www.kusat.tech. Great speakers lined up, good conversation. So you can always find us there. But of course, my social media, G-O-Uma, Mark Uma, or G-O-Uma. You'll find me on LinkedIn, and then we start the conversation. Like I said, get someone. I said that I wanted to become an engineer, courtesy of Engineer Okundi. Never met him. Of course, later I came to meet him after so many years. But even I would just listen to where he's going, whatever he says. That alone was enough. So even listening to this particular could be enough.
Yeah,
it could motivate you. Somebody will be inspired with my journey. And so reach out. Right now, with the power of social media, you can reach out to me or another person, and then we can be able to have a conversation from there.
And pull it from there. Your story is one of resilience, really. And I like the element of just not giving up and keep pursuing and pushing. Give us your final remarks, and I would want this to go to a young boy or a girl in this country. Ako tu na hope, manze, ako na dream, maybe ni mtoi wa mtaa, you know.
Yeah.
Anasema one day they want to get to global levels and also maybe come back home and pass on the baton.
Yeah.
What do you tell that young African child?
I'll tell that young child, that's me 30 years, 20 years ago. In my class 8, when I was sitting, I was the one in charge of cattle, shamba pale, mimi naangalia, ng'ombe nini mimi naangalia. I used to read a book called Proud Ostrich. I remember going to the, to huko mashinani, huko ndani, kulisha ng'ombe, nasoma hiyo kitabu. No connection, no nothing. Like, I don't know what I want to be. People would ask, what's the problem with you? So ukiwa pale mtaani, shinani, just keep going. Like, don't give anything. Right now, social media. By that time, there was no social media. I would work, I would read. I remember when I was in my high school, I would read, go to library. I don't know why. There was no inspiration as much, but I was just, doing what I was able to do. I remember when, never smoked, never drank anything, and my friends were doing all that. And I was just different. I was just wanted to be different. So ukiwa pale mtaani, unaona una mtu, you're giving up. Don't. That will be what will finish you. Don't give up. One day something will happen, but keep on knocking doors. Just reach out. Just listen. Even listen to our podcast. The many podcasts. Listen. They can inspire you. Yani unafika huko unajiuliza, kwa maisha unaishi, kama mtu wa mtaa, lakini in your mind unaona uko majuu, unaona uko sawa, unaona. Mimi sasa nilikuwa najiangalia naona kama niko kwa hii apartment yangu, ni kama na apartment iko huko Manhattan na huko New York. Una feel tu just want you just so usi give up, don't give up, jikaze tu, do anything, read or listen to podcasts, read news, all that. Na kama opportunity ya kusoma kwa bidii. Soma kwa bidii, mimi when I went to college, I remember my first thing in the line to admission pale, kwa jamaa mimi nitaka kuwa class rep ya hii class. Jamaa tu Alex, my good friend up to now. Akanambia nikakuwa class, tukaingia jamaa, mimi ni class rep. Ilikuwa kusurvive because hata sikuwa na fee that time. I didn't have the fee. But nika survive. Nikaingia Mr. Pole at that time, just to be known. I lost. I wasn't anywhere close to being a Mr. Pole, right? But I wanted just kuonekana. After that, nikasimama politics ya shule. Sikupata, lakini I became so vocal. Na ikanisukuma, nikalipa fee, nikamaliza. When I went to, so I studied in MKU Mombasa. There was no student union at that time. I went to the administration, nikamwambia jamaa, mimi naona hapa tofauti na administration. Can I talk to the class reps if they can allow you? I talked to them. Some of them were like classes ahead of me. Wakakubali, tukaanzisha student leadership. That was being felt like, everyone. That grew into not just a coast student union. The whole from Taita to Kilifi to everyone, under the name Ikusa. I was the one leading that. Just being known, right? I was just, skume tu. No one knew about my background, but pale ni Mombasa hii watu wananijua. Unaona, because of that. So skuma kabisa. Yeah.
G.O. Mark, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah.
And I'm very sure aliye na masikio
asikie.
And we pray that this will be a seed planted on fertile land, that it shall produce good fruit. And we truly are proud to associate with your journey of resilience and success. And we pray that as you go forth, may more lives be transformed. May you create more impact. And the vision that you have, may it come to life. Thank you for coming to Speak Up Africa.
Yes.
Tunaomba kumba tukikuja huko nchi za nje, pia bado tutaweza kushirikiana and we do something pamoja.
Yes. Asante sana pia. Nawalika nyote mfike. Tufanye conference. Mimi niko mtani, tutanipata. Yeah, but I also want to, say, great thank you to many people who, have been there. Yeah, there's so many people who have supported me, friends. from my extended family members. That's from my mom's side, to friends who went to school with me, to friends who tumepatana mtaani, na shout out to all of you, and everyone. Yeah. So karibuni sana America.
Asante. Here at Speak Up Africa, we continue to bring you conversations that aim to inform, engage, and empower you. And in this day and age where technology is bringing us diverse opportunities, we have had nothing short of that here today. And we desire that you go plug into these spaces so that your tomorrow is better than today. My name is Wendy Lois. Thank you for watching this episode. For now, I will love you and leave you, and I will see you on the next one. Kwaheri.